Welcome back to Judy's Keto Kitchen. About a month ago, I made the carnivore chicken bread that I thought I was going to hate, but I actually really loved it. But it was very dense and didn't whip up very much, so I tried it a different way where I whipped the egg whites first and then add the ground chicken, and it came out much better. So I will be making that for you today, my version 2 of the carnivore chicken bread. So I have my immersion blender, and in here I have 1 pound of ground chicken that I browned. I have 6 egg yolks, a half a teaspoon of baking soda, a half a teaspoon of baking powder. And I'm going to, if you remember when I did this with the whole eggs without whipping up the egg whites, I did it in my Vitamix, which worked really well. But now that there's less liquid with just the egg yolks, I use my immersion blender. Now make sure you either unplug or disconnect the immersion blender. And I've had people say, why do you even say that? It's obvious. Well, yes, it is obvious, but we have known people who have had to go to the emergency room because they just forgot. It's not that they didn't know, it's just, you know, sometimes in the moment you just don't remember these things. So, yes, I'm going to remind you. Now I have my hand mixer and I'm going to whip the egg whites. So in this bowl, I have 6 egg whites. And to that, I'm adding 2 tablespoons of egg white powder, a teaspoon of gelatin, and I have a half a teaspoon of salt in here. Normally I would have added the salt to the chicken. I forgot and added it here, so hopefully it will work out. But the last time I made this bread, I made a mistake. Instead of putting in 2 tablespoons of egg white powder, I put in 2 tablespoons of gelatin. So when I added the egg white powder, I'm scooping out the gelatin, so I don't really know how much gelatin was in there, but it tasted great. The texture was amazing. So I actually have 2 teaspoons of gelatin here, and we're going to try it and see how it works. And I'll adjust the recipe depending on how this comes out with either 1 or 2 teaspoons of gelatin. So now we're going to whip this to a stiff peak. It could take up to 6 minutes. Usually with this small amount, it doesn't take 6 minutes, but I want to mix it a bit because once you turn the beaters on, it's going to fly all over the place. So I'm going to start it on low, and then I'll turn it on high until they're whipped to a stiff peak. Now we're going to fold in the chicken mixture, and you want it all mixed very well. The egg whites will deflate some, but that's okay. This is just trying to make the chicken bread a little more, less dense and more airy. Now I like using silicone loaf pans. I'm going to be looking for some more because the sides of these don't have any structure to them. And what happened last time I made this, it just flopped all over. So I think what I'm going to do, instead of using that, I'm going to use a glass bread pan that I'm going to put parchment paper so that it doesn't stick to the sides. Now I love my silicone pans and I really need to look for one with reinforced sides. I have some silicone cupcake pans that I got that do have reinforced sides. So let's just pour this in. Now I'm going to put this in a 350-degree oven for 35 minutes. I'm going to let it cool a little after it cooks, and I'll be back to slice it up. So 350-degree Fahrenheit oven, 35 minutes. I'll be back in probably an hour and we can slice it and try it. So I took the bread out of the oven about an hour ago, and since it was a glass pan, I took it out of the pan. It comes out really easy with the parchment paper. So I let it cool. It's still a little warm, but I can't resist. I have to try this. So it looks really good. It doesn't look as dense as my first one, if you know, was like this thick. This is nice. It's nice, it's moist, it's light. This is really good. It worked fine with the 2 teaspoons of gelatin. I think I'll add that next time. So enjoy version 2 of carnivore chicken bread.